The Good Place is one of my favorite TV shows, and a little over a year ago, I made a video about why I found the ending to the series unsatisfactory and anticlimactic. So perhaps that's not fair to the show because admittedly, my critique of the resolution of the problem presented by The Good Place came explicitly from a Christian tradition that assumes certain things about God's nature, human freedom, and finite objects. Nevertheless, in hindsight, I think the show's philosophy did make a good point about the human condition. So to recap, the series protagonists eventually go to heaven after undergoing something akin to purgatory, which functioned as a vehicle to make Eleanor and her cohorts better people. But a problem arises when Eleanor realizes that the good place kind of gets dull and unfulfilling. I believe the show writers had no desire to implicate humans as being inevitably disinteresting, as Jason was to obtaining his lifelong dream to drive go-karts with monkeys. But that is the implication though. Jason says that go-karts got old, and the logical conclusion is humans around him will get old as well. This is Hypatia's judgment when she says, "Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Because you get here and you realize that anything's possible, so you do everything and then you're done, but you still have infinity left. This place kills fun and passion and excitement and love till all you have left are milkshakes." So to put it in a more straightforward term, an eternity of getting everything you want does not seem like a feasible reality for humans to occupy because things and experiences get old, and sadly people get old too. The logical conclusion to the problem that the show ends on is oblivion. The way to restore meaning to the people in the good place is to let them leave. I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do with universal salvation, which is what you mostly talk about on this channel? Okay, well, if the good place is positioned on eternity growing dull and losing its initial appeal, the longer you stay there, wouldn't this realization mean that one would also grow bored and disinterested with oneself? Let's think about that. So we've already conceded to the problem of disinterestedness, meaning, in an eternal or absolute sense, humans are not exciting or compelling enough on their own for any individual to remain within a constant state of infatuation and intrigue. The question for the Christian arises, why think that a rational soul could persist in a rapturous longing for himself, let alone any other finite soul in an absolute sense? I do not believe one could. I think that while in a state of enslavement to sin, one can never truly enjoy and embrace their loved ones and things that they find to be genuinely pleasurable with any consistency and without lapsing into a sense of boredom and monotony. New Testament scholar Dale C. Allison, speaking about the natural human fear of death and the possible implications of effectively eliminating death through scientific avenues, illustrated my point when he wrote, "As a thought experiment, ask yourself, what will happen to our religion when people begin to envisage for themselves multiple centuries? The consequences will likely be far-reaching. Consider as one illustration, Jesus' words about divorce. What might a 500-year-old Christian make of it? If our future is de Grey's future, might Luke 16:18, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery, come to command as little authority as Deuteronomy 23:19, you shall not charge interest to another Israelite? Modern capitalism obliterated the rejection of usury, and perhaps the extension of life will obliterate the rejection of divorce. How many people are going to confine themselves to one matrimonial adventure before their 500th birthday? One of the reasons the divorce rate has skyrocketed in recent times is that people have been living a little longer. What will happen when they live a lot longer? It's just statistics. The fewer years one has, the fewer occasions for divorce. The years one has, the more occasions for divorce. How high was the divorce rate when the average age of death was less than 30? How high will it be when the average age of death is 30 times 30? I recall news reports of a pair of 115-year-old giant turtles in a zoo in Klagenfurt, Austria. After living together for decades, they suddenly refused to tolerate each other. The female started biting off chunks of her partner's shell. Counseling, whatever that means for turtles, didn't work. It was time to move on. Will it be any different with long-lived humans, Christian or not? The sad reality is people grow tired of people, even ones they love. But thinking about such complex realities does shine a light on one crucial thing. The problem doesn't go away just when dealing with other people and our experiences. I think it even becomes a problem with ourselves. It very well may be the case that we will eventually reject or long to get away from ourselves. For this reason, free will defenses of eternal hell become meaningless if intended to support the claim that persons can eternally choose themselves without growing sick and bored of themselves. What about ourselves is so exciting and desirable in itself? Perhaps this is a problem of the finite taken by itself. We don't seem to be sufficient enough to satiate the desires of the people we love in any absolute sense, and vice versa. God is the eternal abundance of absolute being. He is the good, the beautiful, the truth, and He is the reasonable end of human desire that seems to be able to suspend any disinterestedness of rational souls by fulfilling and being the source of our most general longings. To see God truly is to be eternally raptured in His beauty, and not only His beauty, but also the beauty of His creation. An eternal rejection of God just seems unlikely, because like us growing tired of things and people, we'll too perhaps grow tired of ourselves. This sounds akin to purgatorial universalism. God is more than willing to allow us to wander as far from Him as we could possibly go, only to realize that in the end, that which we spent our whole life running from was the thing that we were looking for all along. Thanks for watching.